What is up, guys? This is part 2 of my review slash discussion on the latest chapter of Claymore, chapter 153 that I just read. Part 1 has been uploaded already, and if you watched until the end, you'll notice that it did cut off. So now I'm back at a later time to finish up. So where I left off in the review slash discussion was I was really just getting into it. Like, we're still on like the second page of the chapter. I was talking about how in a lot of manga, the author likes to, or is forced to, define the power levels and the details of all the characters. Usually because the arc is coming to a culmination, and they have to demystify a lot of the mystery in order to conclude the arc. They have to say stuff like, this guy's strong, this guy's weak, and sometimes if there's going to be more arcs afterwards, they can leave a few characters in mystery. But when it's a final arc like something like Naruto, you have to tie up all loose ends, and because of that lack of mystery, it can screw things up. I definitely think that this will be the culmination of everything up until this point, and from here on out we will see one of those giant shifts in the series. I would say this is a big culmination of all the arcs, and then we'll move on to what's outside of this island. But I was talking about how Teresa was someone who it's very much clear she is the strongest character, and here's something that I will make a video in itself of. Claire, Teresa, the strongest, the weakest members, and why one cannot say that Teresa is not the strongest or Priscilla is the strongest, as illustrated by this chapter. But stay tuned for that video. However, I will have to note that it's not as cut and dry as you think, and I'll explain it in that video because it's actually very detailed. It's understandable, but it's very detailed. But as to who's stronger, Teresa or Priscilla, it's you have to get into it because there's multiple levels of each of them, as illustrated on the page I left off at, because Teresa and Priscilla have multiple forms, and one can argue that this form isn't really truly her. For instance, just one example, Teresa is technically dead, so what is now manifested, one can argue, is that really her, or is that simply Claire's awakened form? In this page, they are saying that this is Claire, not Teresa, even though it's very clear that it has the appearance of Teresa. And if you've read the chapter, you know you get another sort of mind F. I don't want to curse, but it screws with your mind even more, because Teresa, who seems to be Claire's awakened form, awakens herself. So what does that even mean? Or is that like, most readers would immediately assume that means that, oh, that proves that this was Teresa and not Claire, and therefore it is not Claire in her awakened form, and it is Teresa who is somehow still alive. I disagree. I'm thinking that this is some, I mean, I think it is Teresa, but at the same time, I feel like this is something that can only occur because of the special way that Claire manifested her inner self by taking a part of Teresa when she died, rather than half of a demon, and therefore she was able to manifest a third evolution, somewhat like Pokemon or Digimon, where certain Digimon can evolve more than others in special ways. And I would say also, Claymore adds a unique perspective by making it not as cut and dry as Pokemon, because as explained by that creepy guy with the black hat who's always there, and those sunglasses. He explains how, in a lot of ways, emotions and your background and childhood history affect the power level you achieve through hatred and these strong emotions, and therefore one can argue that it's not as simple and cut and dry as create this evolutionary method and you will achieve the same strength. It has a lot to do with their childhood and deep, complex childhood memories too. So moving on to the next page, anyhow, we see a great, massively awesome fight sequence between the both of them. And I would just say it's amazing. You know, they've already demonstrated in multiple fight sequences before this, not including this one, that they are on ridiculous levels. So Teresa is ridiculously fast. I hope you guys don't bring in the whole Dragon Ball Z Goku, who's stronger, Goku or Teresa thing, because we all know Goku would win. Although they are getting to a superhuman level to close to Goku's point, because at the crux of Goku, towards the last series of DBZ, it was very clear that they were moving at speeds where the human eye could not even see them, and you needed Saiyan eyes to literally see them fight. And basically we see here Teresa pretty much outmaneuvering and being faster than Priscilla, despite Priscilla doing all these ridiculous things, growing stronger body parts when her old body parts are severed. Again, a nod at I believe it's Greek mythology, and a nod at Hercules the movie and the mythology behind the beast that inspired Hercules the Disney movie. With you guys know what I'm talking about, that serpent that each time you cut off its head, 10 more sprout in its place. But in Priscilla's case, it's not just 10 more, it's like a stronger, more advanced weapon. It's not even just a biological part anymore. It's literally like some sort of machine that sprouts out. And so we see here Priscilla literally destroying her own legs, demonstrating her battle acumen as well to grow even stronger, more advanced legs. And then she starts moving at such speeds that you can't see her. You just see the wreckage that she spews up as she moves. And even then, it's like there's so much wreckage everywhere. It literally seems like she's moving everywhere, and you can't just keep track of her at all. And so here, this next page I'm at, it really just illustrates what a great author the author of Claymore is, because he does something that I think doesn't happen often. You see, he sets it up and then he breaks it down, and I've only seen that consistently in like Bleach and Toriko, which are why they're so popular. Basically, it's this whole idea of sort of pumping one opponent up to be so ridiculously strong, and then you turn the page and boom, they're knocked on their heads with I don't think so, I'm even stronger, got you. And you have to do it properly, because I think Fairy Tail does a decent job, which is one of the reasons why it's so popular. But at the same time, I do feel that they overdo it, and they do it in such a somewhat childlike, sissy way that it doesn't come across as awesome. But again, the page I'm referencing here is the next page where first off, you see Priscilla just moving so fast that you just see the debris spewing up, and everyone's marveling at the speed with which she's moving, to the point where the human eye can't even see her. And you literally then see the panel before you see the panels before you see Teresa like at first surprised, and then she's like, that left-right imbalance was an opening to take advantage of too. So you're going to play it this way, huh? And then the next panel, boom, she's not even looking at Priscilla, but she's got her knife pointed at her, and she's like, right about here, huh? And she literally predicts where she's moving and literally has her sword ready, and she's moved to that place, and it goes straight through her chest. It's just amazing. It's a classic setup of build this opponent up to this incredible level we've never seen, and readers think they're unstoppable now, and then boom, it's like the character fighting her not only is able to better her, but better her like aimlessly, not aimlessly, but like effortlessly. And so that's what happened here, and it's quite amazing. Honestly, I don't really understand completely what the dialogue before. The left-right imbalance was an opening to take advantage of. Perhaps that means that Teresa spotted something that she could have taken advantage of earlier as well, but she didn't for whatever reason. And again, it's just this whole build-up I felt was amazing. All the spectators saying, "What? It's like she's invisible." Movements that even exceed that of Hysteria's awakened form. And obviously, at this point, you guys, it's very clear that they are on completely different levels from anything we've ever seen. Most awakened beings, they are just naturally on a stronger state. I find that amazing in itself, and just amazing that the author would just even come up with this sort of stuff. The whole idea that they, especially Teresa and both of them are stronger on just a base core ability level in terms of speed, endurance, maneuverability, intelligence, to the point where other awakened beings have honed all their abilities to be adept at one specific ability. And then they're just all completely washed away and beaten by these two people. And you see this all the time. And then, you know, a couple chapters ago, you see literally Teresa mimicking a technique she just saw from an awakened being with her own little flair and spin. So she's a genius in it of herself. I have so much to say about the whole Teresa versus Priscilla thing and who's stronger, because again, there are indications to say that you can't really judge it just on a one level basis. Again, check out my video for that when I release it. But one of the things I could say is that you know, Teresa did mention that Priscilla in her full potential form would be stronger than her. Why is she putting up a fight now? Because I don't think this is fully Teresa anymore. It's an awakened, better form of Teresa due to Claire. But regardless, we see an amazing fight, and what seems to be happening is literally Teresa seems to be cutting off the limbs and they're regrowing each time. At first it seemed like she was doing it on accident because she didn't know, but then it's made clear that she's doing it on purpose, or at least it's implied that she may be, in order to at least what it's implied is that in order to I guess make atones or completely resolve all conflict by completely fully releasing Priscilla's hatred, so that she can fight her on her maximum fighting capability, which again a lot of the spectators are just horrified of, because they're like, why do all this and make her stronger and stronger when she's such a threat that it's much smarter to just kill her at her weakest point. But apparently I think Teresa, because she has a strong moral code, and potentially because she thinks she can beat this person despite knowing that she will be wounded at the very least, which she remarks on, she wants to take this person on at the strongest state. So literally she's chopping this person up until what it seems to be Priscilla has awakened as well. Like, she's already awakened, but now she's on this, I wouldn't say awakened, but she's evolved to this ridiculously bizarre chopped up form that's like floating about, because she keeps evolving each time she loses a limb. But again, going back to the 15th page, before Priscilla gets dramatically chopped up, I do have to remark this, you know, the gruesome and disgustingness of Claymore, just how the awakened beings are like drawn. I think it's somewhat disgusting how the flavor of it is, but at the same time, you know, it is what it is. So apparently what seems to happen is she's sprouting all these like organs and disfigured things from her back. what seemed to be wings, but very disgusting joints and arms and legs and feet and fingers. And what's very apparently clear, and for mature audiences only, a few sets of boobs. Very plump, juicy boobs. Somewhat weird, but there it is. And so she, like, this mass just shoots out of her, and then she rains down like these, what seem to be laser beams or whatever, bursts of aura, whatever you want to call them, that literally destroys every like square foot of land in the whole area. Like literally, it's just like raining down on every single plot of land, and it just burns out everything. And so it's like, what the heck is going on here? And first off, I think it's a nod at how this author is, because it's a very disturbing thing. Like, he could have just made it so that she shoots out these beams, but the author decided to first depict her, you know, sprouting out all these, you know, disgusting organs and limbs and hearts and boobs from her back, almost like wings, and then them turning into beams that shoot off into her area in all directions, destroying every piece of land in her vicinity. And here's the part where, again, the same tactic is, you know, subtly introduced perfectly, so it's not overdone, but the same thing. It's just like, how is anyone able to survive something like this? And then you see the spectator saying stuff like, how would Teresa evade this? And then you see like Teresa moving through the lasers at like a supersonic speed, closing in on Priscilla. And then obviously you see Priscilla's face, which is always, I wouldn't say smiling, but always neutral, almost like shocked. And Teresa literally just like slices this person up. And so now, like, you know, you get to the final page and Priscilla is like completely chopped up, but like each time she gets chopped up, like all these like little organs and blood vessels sort of like connect her parts together, but doesn't like pull them together. So as you've seen, because you guys have read this, she's this weird, you know, strange thing. And it's pretty much implied that, holy crap, I think Teresa is purposefully cutting Priscilla up constantly. And you literally see her do it over and over and over and over again, knowing that it just like makes her stronger and stronger, to the point where she's no longer like her normal form. She's more like this weird messed up, you know, structure. And if you guys really want to appreciate the artwork, although it's very disgusting, disturbed artwork, it's still artwork. Look at that last page in the picture of this chapter, because she is literally like, if you look at her legs, like look closely at the legs of the last page, like her legs are an assortment of hundreds of limbs and body parts and blood vessels and weird like a Hydra dragon-esque, somewhat like a dragon-esque technology, machinery, like esque parts, like all combined together to create her legs. Like literally, for them to draw that, they would have like, it's not that bad, but you know, they literally drew out all those tiny little legs. And so, you know, the final culmination of this is literally Priscilla just constantly going, Teresa, Teresa, and it's just a nod at the fact that, hey, this is no longer Priscilla, as Teresa has mentioned before. This is Priscilla's hatred that has manifested into this bizarre emotional creature with no shape or form or logic anymore. Right now it's literally just a ball of anger that has manifested toward Teresa. And so Teresa has mentioned in previous chapters that, hey, you have already won against Priscilla. I will take out this, you know, manifested form, but ultimately, you know, the weakest human, along with Claire's band of friends, have in fact defeated Priscilla. This is just a, you know, more advanced, balled up form of Priscilla that's not even Priscilla anymore. It's just anger at Teresa, and so Teresa's like, I'll take care of this, which is pretty cool. So I deliberately left out quite a lot of stuff to be said. Holy crap, there's more pages? Oh, right. I read, there's more pages, but I've already read them. Okay, so going on from there, it seems like Teresa does something. She throws down her sword like she's slashing in front of her. And then you see the typical sort of awakening that occurs with typical Claymores. But usually, you know, it's a bad thing because, you know, their skin turns dark. You see all these veins pop up. Their eyes change color. And you're like, this is not good because then they won't be able to turn back. It's bad for them. Sure, they're stronger, but then they'll awaken. And then you start to questioning what the heck's going on. And the spectators are like, what the heck is this Yoki? Because before, you know, Teresa's Yoki was such a vast Yoki they've never seen. And now they're seeing like an even crazier Yoki, which is like ridiculous. And so, you know, it's commented, it's a raging vast sea of Yoki. And then they're like, holy crap, this is Teresa awakening. So we don't really know what's going on with that. We don't know, you know, I'll discuss it. And again, there's so much I've held back on that I will discuss in the Teresa versus Priscilla who's stronger video that I'm going to make. And so ultimately, you know, it seems like you see this like crazy chapter. I mean, this crazy ending to this chapter, and literally Teresa's like, huh, nothing's changed, which I think is just beautiful. Like, I think it's the best thing ever. I think it's probably the best awakening ever because, like, if they had made it so that, like, you know, Teresa had a normal awakening with like all these crazy stuff, it'd just be like shame. But it's just like, hey, the finest is sometimes the simplest. And basically, I mean, you guys have seen the chapter. What happens is Teresa's like, huh, this is strange. There wasn't much change after my awakening. Just the form of my legs seemed lighter and my back seems a tiny bit heavier. And then you look at her and it's like, she's got some big ass wings, and her legs look like, you know, there's a slight change in the back of them so that they look more like machine legs. But other than that, like, it just looks like her legs have had like an accessory added onto them. It's just really cool, and I think this awakening just suits her so well because it's fine and simple. It's not something ridiculously crazy or flamboyant. And that's what suits her well. We want her to keep her physical form and everything. And just the fact that she's awakened is a shocker in itself. And in addition to that, literally, like her whole form, she's literally an angel, which just works perfectly with it. It's like Teresa of the faint smile, the hero is coming in to save the day, and she's an angel, therefore the wings. It just works perfectly. And that therein ends the chapter. Again, solid 9.5 out of 10. There's a decent amount, as I've said before, that I've saved for the other video that I really have to elaborate in that video. But as always, like, favorite, comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe. I'll see you in my next video.